50 Cent has been having way too much fun with this. You know what he's been posting? AI-generated images of Diddy with baby oil, memes calling it Diddy oil, videos of Diddy supposedly drinking the stuff in his cell like it's water. It's relentless. And honestly, he's not wrong to keep the pressure on, because while 50's been clowning Diddy on Instagram for months, the man he's roasting is actually locked up right now. Real prison, real sentence. And the story of how Sean Diddy Combs went from mogul to inmate? That's absolutely wild. That's what we're breaking down today. But first, we gotta talk about 50 Cent, because this man has turned Diddy's situation into his personal content farm. It started back in September 2024 when Diddy's indictment got unsealed. That's when the world learned that federal agents seized over 1,000 bottles of Diddy's Miami and Los Angeles properties. 1,000 bottles. The internet went crazy, and 50 Cent, he saw comedy gold. Immediately posted an AI-generated image of Johnson's baby oil with Diddy oil photoshopped onto the label. Caption, coming soon. The post went viral. Then he posted himself with Drew Barrymore on her show with the caption, here I am keeping good company with Drew Barrymore, and I don't have 1,000 bottles of lube at the house. Over 300,000 likes on that one. People were dying in the comments. He's posted AI videos of Diddy walking a fashion runway in a dress designed to look like a baby oil bottle. And he shared clips of Diddy supposedly drinking baby oil in his cell like it's refreshing water. And just a few weeks ago in January 2026, when Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro got arrested and sent to the same Brooklyn detention center where Diddy was held, 50 posted a cartoon of them sitting together in prison. Maduro's saying, they took my oil also, and Diddy's responding like they're bonding over it. The joke works on two levels. Maduro's connected to Venezuela's actual oil industry, and Diddy's connected to, well, you know, the 1,000 bottles. 50's been saying for years he never went to Diddy's parties. He's told reporters it always felt like weird energy. He turned down invitations. He says Diddy once offered to take him shopping, and it gave him bad vibes. So now that everything's come out, 50's basically saying, I told you so, in the most public, most petty way possible. And here's the thing, while 50's clowning him online, Diddy's actually sitting in a prison cell, not on house arrest, not in some cushy facility, real federal time. But wait, there's more, because 50's not just trolling on Instagram. He's executive producing a Netflix documentary called Sean Combs: The Reckoning, and proceeds are going to survivors of abuse and assault. 50 told Variety that Sean Combs' story is not the full story of hip-hop and its culture. He's making it clear that one man's crimes don't define an entire movement, but he's also making sure those crimes get told. You know who's spending time in a prison cell right now? Diddy. And the story of how he ended up there is absolutely wild. This man went from living the high life with private jets and million-dollar parties to sitting behind bars at Fort Dix Federal Prison in New Jersey. Here's exactly how he ended up in this position and what his life behind bars really looks like right now, as he's staring down a multi-year prison sentence while also dealing with ongoing civil lawsuits and the fallout from that highly publicized Netflix documentary. You know, 50 Cent executive produced that documentary, and he's not holding back on the details. So this is Diddy as a convicted felon, and he's locked up at FCI Fort Dix. The judge slapped him with 50 months in prison after getting convicted on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. That's basically 4 years, but he's getting credit for time already served, so the actual time could end up being less than that. Now, before his trial even went down in New York City, Diddy was stuck at the MDC, which is the Metropolitan Detention Center out in Brooklyn. That place is straight up notorious. Over 1,000 inmates crammed into this facility that's been plagued with serious problems for years now. Violence happening constantly, conditions are absolutely deplorable, people smuggling in contraband like drugs on the regular. They barely got enough manpower to run the place properly. It's been a complete disaster for a long time. But then the jury came back with their decision, and here's where things get really interesting. They actually acquitted the 56-year-old on the biggest charges he was facing. The racketeering charge, not guilty. Trafficking charges, not guilty. Those were supposed to be the heaviest hits that would put him away for decades, and they straight up didn't stick. 50 Cent been calling this situation out for years, and now everybody's watching how it plays out. But Judge Aaron Subramanian still imposed that sentence, and right after that went down, Diddy got transferred out of MDC Brooklyn to Fort Dix. Now, Fort Dix is a minimum security prison, and get this, his legal team specifically requested this be the facility where he serves his time for the foreseeable future. Back on October 6th, one of Diddy's attorneys, Tenny Garagos, wrote this whole detailed letter to the court on his behalf. She was basically saying, look, on behalf of Mr. Combs, we're respectfully requesting that the court strongly recommend a specific facility to the Bureau of Prisons. The letter went on to say that in Mr. Combs' judgment, in order to properly address his drug abuse issues and to maximize opportunities for family visitation and rehabilitative efforts, they're requesting that the court strongly recommend to the Bureau of Prisons that Mr. Combs be placed at FCI Fort Dix. They specifically mentioned wanting him there for ARDAP purposes and any other available educational and occupational programs that could benefit him. So what even is RDAP? RDAP stands for Residential Drug Abuse Program, and it's only available to federal prison inmates who have at least 2 years remaining on their sentence. According to reporting from CBS News, Diddy was actually accepted into an ARDAP program, and he's currently an active participant in it right now. Here's how this program works according to federal regulations. To qualify for RDAP, inmates have to have a verifiable substance use disorder that's been documented. They have to enter the program completely voluntarily because nobody can force you into it. And then they have to complete 3 separate components of the program. The first component is called the unit-based component, and it requires inmates to complete a specific course that's provided by the Psychology Services Department. During this phase of the program, the inmates live separately from the general prison population in their own designated area. After completing that first stage, inmates move into the next phase, which involves follow-up services where they continue working on their recovery. And then the third and final component is referred to as Community Treatment Services, or CTS for short. This part is basically like a halfway house type of situation, or something similar, where formerly incarcerated people start reintegrating back into society while still having some level of supervision and structure. You're not completely free yet, but you're also not locked down in a cell anymore either. RDAP actually offers some real incentives and benefits to inmates who successfully complete the full program. According to the regulations, there could be limited financial awards and other local incentives that vary by institution. Think preferred living quarters, special recognition, or extra privileges. But here's the big one. Completing this residential drug abuse program can actually knock time off your sentence. So you can see why it's such an attractive option for inmates. Now, Diddy's alleged drug use has been talked about in the past, and some of that even came from his own mouth. You might remember back in May 2024, months after his ex Cassandra Ventura filed that multi-million-dollar lawsuit against him that ultimately got settled. That lawsuit kicked off a whole cascade of assault allegations against him. Then that explosive surveillance video got published and distributed, and everybody saw it. The now infamous footage showing Combs kicking and dragging Cassie as she tried to leave the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles back in 2016. That continued until hotel security stepped in and intervened. This was the moment everything shifted. That video didn't just trend. It detonated across the internet. It jumped from social feeds to mainstream news, and people around the world saw it. Supporters who once dismissed Cassie's claims as exaggeration suddenly weren't so confident anymore. The narrative around Sean Diddy Combs started to fracture, and for the first time, the public conversation felt unstable.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it, I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy. Going to rehab. Had to ask God for His mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
That became a recurring theme later, resurfacing multiple times throughout his federal criminal trial. What had once been speculation turned into something witnesses were now discussing under oath. One of those witnesses was Brendan Paul. His name first hit headlines after his 2024 arrest at Miami Opa-locka Airport. The same day, federal agents raided Combs' properties in both Miami and Los Angeles. Prosecutors suggested he operated as a kind of courier, while Paul denied receiving direct trafficking orders and claimed the substances had remained in his bag by accident. On the witness stand, Paul reportedly said loyalty kept him from distancing himself sooner. When asked what he feels about Combs today, he answered with 2 words: "It's complicated." Not a defense, not an attack, just an answer loaded with tension. As part of a plea agreement, charges related to marijuana candy were dropped, and Paul was placed into a drug diversion program, something typically granted to first-time offenders. In return, he was granted immunity for his testimony, as long as it remained truthful. According to trial transcripts, prosecutors pressed him directly about drugs in connection with Combs. Did not claim forced orders or an organized system, but the exchange added weight to the moment and fueled questions about what was really happening behind the scenes. Nothing in Paul's statements alone proves broader allegations, but combined with the video, the apology, the airport arrest, and the raids, it shifted momentum. It changed tone, and it left the public asking whether the story was far bigger than anyone originally understood. And while everything was unfolding, another issue was developing behind the scenes, one that could potentially affect Sean Diddy Combs' status in the drug treatment program he's enrolled in. According to multiple reports, the concern isn't just legal pressure, it's behavior inside the facility, and alleged infractions that could jeopardize its position if confirmed. TMZ reported that Combs was caught with homemade alcohol, a claim his team immediately and strongly denied. But then CBS News, it reported something different, saying they reviewed Bureau of Prisons documents, indicating Combs was allegedly involved in a prohibited 3-way phone call back in November. These types of calls are banned due to concerns about witness tampering or attempting to handle business from inside the prison. Combs and his team reportedly told officials the call was with his lawyer, who added a communications advisor to approve a statement. They also claimed he wasn't informed about the phone rules because he never received the inmate orientation handbook. CBS states that paperwork includes a recommendation that Combs lose 90 days of phoning and commissary privileges, though it's unclear if this was actually enforced. So, even with all that uncertainty, one thing is clear: he isn't just sitting around, because apparently he has a job now. According to his publicist, that position is one of the most sought-after jobs in the facility. A former commissioner told CBS it comes with benefits others don't get: a private office, air conditioning, and access to food brought in for religious services. One corrections officer even claimed the chapel is one of the few places inmates can gather freely, and that assistants can prepare call-out lists, the lists that determine who gets to leave their cells. In theory, assistants could add people that they want on that list. That's influence. That's leverage. There are also signs that Combs is still managing outside responsibilities. Just before Thanksgiving, his legal team notified the court that he paid the fines tied to his conviction and sentence, while still behind bars. So now the question isn't just what he did before prison, but what's happening inside. Whether this becomes an opportunity or another setback depends on what gets verified, what rules were actually broken, and what the Bureau decides to enforce. All we know is this: there's a lot more going on in Fort Dix than anyone sees from the outside. While everything was unfolding inside Fort Dix, a parallel battle was moving forward on paper. According to court filings, on October 16, 2025, the Southern District of New York issued an amended judgment against Sean Diddy Combs. It added 2 financial penalties, a $200 special assessment, and a $500,000 fine, both required to be paid in full within 60 days. The filings later confirmed that on November 24, 2025, Combs' team made the payment directly to the SDNY cashier. No delays, no installment plan, just a full payment entered into the record to show compliance. It wasn't simply a financial transaction, it positioned Combs as cooperative at a moment where every detail could influence how he's treated inside and what opportunities he qualifies for. What's happening outside the prison walls, though, could matter even more. On October 22, 2025, his attorneys filed a criminal appeal with the Second Circuit Court of Appeals and requested an expedited timeline. Most appeals stretch on for years, but this filing was structured to move quickly, compressing a process that normally drags under procedural waiting. A proposed schedule was submitted, and according to the documents, the government did not object, something that allowed the request to move forward without delay. That led to the key moment on November 3rd, when Circuit Judge Beth Robinson granted the motion. From there, the appellate clock began to run. The court set specific deadlines. Combs' opening brief and appendix are due by December 23, 2025. The government's response is due by February 20th, 2026, and the reply brief from Combs' attorneys is scheduled for March 13th, 2026. After the written arguments close, the case will move to oral arguments in April 2026. That hearing will determine whether the conviction holds, is reduced, or is sent back down for further review. And in late December 2025, Diddy's team filed an 84-page appeal that was reviewed by Variety. Attorney Alexandra A. Shapiro argued that Combs' 50-month sentence was excessive, laying the blame at Judge Subramanian's feet, stating he acted as the 13th juror. The appeal claims Subramanian defied the jury's verdict by finding that Combs coerced, exploited, and forced his girlfriends. The appeal states that defendants typically get sentenced to less than 15 months for these offenses, even when coercion, which the jury didn't find here, is involved. The defense is asking for Combs' immediate release from federal prison or to vacate and remand for resentencing. So the situation now has two fronts, but each with a different purpose. Inside Fort Dix, Combs is serving his sentence, working a job, attending programs, and navigating allegations that could affect his status. Outside in the Second Circuit, his lawyers are attempting something far more dramatic, to dismantle the conviction that put him there in the first place. This is not about waiting years for an answer. If this schedule stays intact, the future of the case could shift in a matter of months, and whichever side, internal compliance or external appeal, arrives at a decisive outcome, first will determine what direction the story takes next.
Diddy may have lived a completely different kind of holiday on the outside, but inside a federal prison, the season looks nothing like the mansions, private chefs, or catered events he once knew. Now the question becomes, what do the holidays really look like for him behind bars? And surprisingly, it's not total isolation. Federal facilities like Fort Dix organize limited holiday meals and activities, and from what's being reported, Combs is trying to position himself as part of that community. According to outlets covering the story, Combs has reportedly connected with a group inside the facility known as Bankroll Bosses, an inmate-led crew that volunteered time and resources to put together a Thanksgiving-style meal. Not through luxury catering or outside vendors, but directly from the commissary. And here's the part that stands out. They didn't just buy the food, hand it off, and disappear. Reports claim they spent 2 days prepping it themselves. 2 days, mixing, heating, portioning, organizing, plating. In the end, nearly 1,000 inmates were served. That number alone shows why the moment made noise outside the prison walls. Combs even shared a message through his spokesperson, framing the gesture less like charity and more like survival with dignity. He said, "Thanksgiving to me is about making sure other people eat. Everybody misses their family. People get depressed during the holidays. We just wanted to come together as a family and do our own thing." It wasn't about pretending they weren't in prisons. It was about creating a moment where it didn't feel like they were. And for New Year's 2026, reports indicate Fort Dix prepared a menu that included baked fish, kidney beans, a baked potato, steamed broccoli, and banana bread for dessert. It's not a 5-star dinner, but it also isn't nothing. In a place where routine is suffocating and days blur together, a slightly better meal can feel like a reminder of life outside. Or at least, a reminder that there's still something human left in the middle of everything. Photos obtained by TMZ showed Diddy out in the prison yard, chatting and smiling with other inmates. He wore a gray sweatsuit, sneakers, a matching head warmer, and a blue coat. His gray beard was visible as he chatted with other men and even shook hands with one who seemed happy to have him there. There are also reports from TMZ that Diddy's been telling fellow inmates he expects President Trump to pardon him. He's allegedly promised to take care of inmates from the outside once he's released. And recently, Diddy was hit with an extension of his prison time. His release date changed from May 8th, 2028 to June 4th, 2028, nearly a month longer, according to the Federal Bureau of Prisons website. None of this changes the sentence. None of it erases what led him there. But it does show a different picture than the outside world expects. A man trying to navigate punishment, reputation, and community all at the same time. And whether that's genuine growth or strategic image work, that's the question people will keep asking. If you've made it this far, let me ask you this. Should a holiday meal change how we look at Sean Combs? Or is it just another chapter in a much bigger story? Because we're not done. There's more coming. And if you want to stay ahead of the headlines instead of chasing them afterwards, don't just watch, stay with me on this. Subscribe, stay locked in, and let's follow this case until the last page turns.